Okay, what's up, everybody? This is a black girl, and I'm going to talk to you today about something that kind of pissed me off today. I've been keeping up with everything about the Parkland school shooting and school shootings in general, and many of you know I work in a school, so, you know, I'm always thinking about this stuff. Now, look at this little picture here of little Susie Q and Billy Bob. They go into the little metal detector, and they don't look like they're having much fun, you know, doing that. But they label this as defense measures could damage, as in putting in measures like these are harming our kids. And then I want you to listen to this.
The shooting in Parkland, Florida, which resulted in the death of 17 students, the superintendent of Broward County Schools, Robert Rusi, has decided to take measures to keep the students safe, but these measures are not making the students very happy. Now, students are being asked to wear clear backpacks. There will also be airport-style metal detectors, and school visitors will be funneled through special gates. Students will also be issued ID badges, which they will be required to wear at all times while in school. Staff members have badges as well. And keep in mind that there is a new Florida law that will set aside millions of dollars, $8.5 million to be exact, for the school district to pay for at least one armed police officer at each school starting in the fall. So going into school will be like going through the TSA when you're traveling. You will have to go through similar metal detectors. You will have to wear clear backpacks and essentially give away any and all privacy you have as a student because the country doesn't want to do anything about guns.
Superintendent or principal, anyone in charge in that particular high school, you got to be incredibly worried, and you take as many precautions as you can, and your hands have been tied. Because you can't do the one thing that makes sense, which is do gun control. So instead, they're like, okay, at least maybe we can see the gun in your backpack if you have a clear backpack. And then we'll have a guard or a teacher trained to shoot you dead if we see something in your backpack that looks dangerous.
So what if somebody hides a gun in their pants or something like that? Okay, so is the next measure to make all students wear skin-tight leotards when they go to class? I mean, how much of our privacy do we have to give away because our country is full of politicians that are, you know, getting funded by weapons manufacturers and the NRA? It's pathetic. It's pathetic. Yes, we have a Second Amendment that protects the right to bear arms, okay? But we also have, you know, a right to against unreasonable searches and seizures. Clear backpacks is not going to solve the problem.
They've turned this school basically into a prison, and they all have numbers now. They got to go through metal detectors. And by the way, more of those kids are going to start getting arrested for incredibly minor infractions, because when there's cops, what do? They arrest people. They've turned this school basically into a prison, and they all have numbers now. They got to go through metal detectors. And by the way, when you set up a police state, I guarantee you more of those kids are going to start getting arrested. They've turned this school basically into a prison, and they all have numbers now. They got to go through metal detectors. And by the way, when you set up a police state, I guarantee you more of those kids are going to start getting arrested for incredibly minor infractions, because when there's cops, what do? They arrest people.
Okay, so what? So you have people in these affluent neighborhoods, these schools where they're majority white, such as the case of the school in Florida and things like that. There are things being implemented to try to help protect the students more. Not only are they tackling what's going on with the Second Amendment, but now they're putting in stuff in place where students have to wear clear backpacks, walk through metal detectors, and do all this other stuff that honestly is, it's the norm in our black schools, our black and Hispanic schools and impoverished neighborhoods. I have always went to a school that has had this type of security in place. I'm used to it. We are not worried about school shootings happening in our schools, and that may or may not be because of those things in place. But when you look at the statistics, it shows you that the majority of these school shootings are happening by white male students. Now, we're not saying that every white male has a high chance of being a school shooter, but the fact of the matter is that the people who are participating in this tend to be, more often than not, a white male. And so now when you have these defense measures being set in place to try to, you know, address the situation happening, now everyone's all outraged and stuff. Oh, we can't have these kids walking through metal detectors every day. They can't wear clear backpacks. This is an invasion of privacy and womp womp whoop-de-woo, whoop-de-woo. Okay, so where were you at then when it was decided that these minority neighborhoods filled with Black and Hispanic students are going to be having these things in place? Where were you when we were saying that we're now contributing more so to this school to prison pipeline type of situation when we have all this law enforcement in schools, quote unquote, and they're just harassing Black students who are doing what otherwise a white student would not get in trouble for? Where were you at when we were outraged about the way we're treating these students? You were nowhere. You know why? Because you didn't care. And the studies have shown that when you try to corral students into these types of environments, it kind of influences their behavior. Now, the high school that I went to, and even the schools that I have worked at for the past few years, I mean, we have these things in place. And me personally, I felt like it was okay. It was necessary. I mean, considering what's going on, a fact is that our world is more violent these days. We have guns. We have all these types of drug issues and things like that. So we do need security in place. But we have always had to wear IDs. We've always had to walk through metal detectors. We've always had the doors at the school secured, and you had to only go through one entry point. That's always what we've been having to deal with in the Black and Hispanic communities. So I'm just outraged to find out that the white schools, or at least particularly this particular school that's implementing these measures, they've never had to wear IDs. Like, really? Not even the teachers? Teachers haven't been wearing IDs? How have you known who's supposed to be teaching in the building or not all this time? How are you running a school without these types of checkpoints? And then you have Black people that have been outraged about the way our students have been treated for years. And we're saying, and we've had studies that prove that we have these things in place, not because of the crime, but it's because of the fact it's just Black students there. Okay, with the viral video of a police officer violently arresting a Black female student at a high school in South Carolina, it reinvigorated the debate over school resource officers and all those other things in place to help crime, right? But we've said and we've shown that school security can have a negative effect on students, particularly African Americans. Okay, this is old. The new study by 2 academics in New York showed that the mere presence of African American students at a school makes it more likely the school will take on security measures, even when controlling for neighborhood crime and things like that. Okay, we also saw in studies the greater racial disparities in student suspensions, arrests in school when there are cops more present than in other places. The arrests and suspensions contribute to the so-called school to prison pipeline. We've been arguing this case for a very long time. Okay, and so you're going to tell me that these white schools haven't had anything like that at all, and now when we start implementing those same type of security features, y'all are upset? You're upset now? You weren't upset when Black schools had to have this stuff? But when the white schools have it now you're upset? When 93% school shooters are white males? Now you're mad? What? This is... I mean, blow this whole thing out of the water. Like, uncover the lid. We need to expose this stuff. School shootings have to stop. But I am not going to sit here and just listen to you and listen to people be outraged about stuff that you have been forcing Black and Hispanic students to suffer through for the long. But you know what? What we haven't suffered through, we're not suffering any mass shootings. I'll just put it like that. Have you heard of a mass shooting at a predominantly Black school? Please show me some stats and I'll show you bullshit.